Hey fam, it's Shannon, one half of Blacktivities, and I would like to share with you an episode of It's About Damn Time that I just did with my friend Jarratt Damn, host of the show. We talked about therapy and why it's important to go to therapy and what it means to really do the work. So here's that episode. Hope you enjoy. Peace.
Do you want to go ahead and make the announcement now about us being best friends, or do you want people just to figure it out as the episode goes on?
Let's see if they can figure it out.
Microphone check. Does my mic sound nice? Yes, it does. Welcome to this week's episode of It's About Damn Time, where we change the narrative by changing the perspective. I'm Jarratt Damn, and it's about damn time to have another conversation that changes the way you think and perceive things. The only question is, are you ready? Welcome to this week's episode of It's About Damn Time. I'm Jarratt Damn, back in the building once again. And this week, I am joined. Look, I feel like I'm nervous. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was telling me she was nervous. I feel like I'm a little nervous. I'm in here with a 15-year educator, a podcaster, a mother of two, a wife, founder of Black Panache LLC, which seeks to amplify Black voices and perspectives, the host of You Talk, I Listen podcast, the host of Blacktivities podcast, and as you heard, my new bestie, Shannon. Chapman, how are you doing? How's it going? What's it like, girl? Your intro is off the chain. I love it.
I mean, you make me sound like I was doing something.
You are doing something. You are doing something. Now,
I'm trying.
No. You more than trying. Like, because I definitely listen every Thursday as Blacktivities drops a new episode available on all podcasting platforms. So I'm always intrigued about what particular topic that you come up with next as y'all talk about and celebrate all things Black. And we just kind of got a bond, just during Instagram, just kind of just talking about podcasting. I love talking about podcasting. I'll talk about podcasting all day long to people.
That's a true podcaster.
It is a true podcaster, but during our conversations, we just kind of started just discussing about our similarities, especially when it came to therapy, and I felt like it's about damn time that we discuss therapy, but not just going to therapy. I'm actually doing the work, and as you know, and you probably have seen all over clips on Instagram and TikTok and everything, and everybody's talking about you need to go to therapy. You need to go to therapy, and I like to call those moments double tap moments where people say this stuff, and then people go, "Ooh, yeah, that's a word, double tap," and they keep scrolling, and no other action is taken. I want to actually talk about the whole experience about once you decide to go to therapy, what that looks like, because I don't think that's actually being discussed enough. And, just from your vantage point, let me just ask you this. How many times have you as a person who has had therapy, tell somebody about going to therapy, they go and they say, after like one or two times, like, I don't know if that's for me.
So I feel like I tell people that they should go to therapy a lot, but I don't know if I know anybody who's actually done it. So
do they
that's the
agree
thing.
with you and be like, yeah, you're right, girl, and then that's
Right.
yeah.
I should go to therapy, yeah. But then I never hear about them actually going to therapy.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think that you have to be mentally ready to go to therapy. You can't just walk in there and don't have the idea that you want to change. You have to be open to hearing about yourself and learning about yourself. And if you're not ready to face some of those truths, then you're probably not ready for therapy.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. She gonna kill me because I'm about to put her on blast. My sister, I got a sister who every time we talk about therapy, it's at a all the siblings. I think she and my brother, and I know my brother ain't going to therapy, but she and my brother are the only people that hadn't been to a therapist or not currently going to a therapist. And every time we talk about it, she's like, "Whoo, shit! I need to go. I need to go. I know what y'all talking about. I need to go." And has not made any type of movement. Now, granted, I know there are financial issues at times and everything, but there's also programs that that you can do and research and look at. I don't want to push her. I don't want to push her because I feel like people say that they're not necessarily ready to go to therapy. I just started going back after about a 3-year hiatus. I
Hmm.
don't know what I was thinking, but I lost my damn mind, Shannon. I don't know why I was thinking that, but I just started going back after 3 years, but I do remember for like a good 6 or 7 months, probably longer. I kept saying, "Yeah, I need to get back into therapy. Like I'm struggling right now. I need to get back." And I had people that was pushing me and encouraging me and asking me questions like, have you scheduled that therapy session yet? Oh no, I've just been so busy. Oh my God. But it wasn't until like, you hit like just a part of your life where you just feel empty and you're looking around for answers and nothing that you normally do fixes it, whether it's working out or for me eating sweets and working out. Whatever the case is, it's like, this shit ain't working no more. So
Yeah.
what got you initially into therapy? What brought you to therapy?
So, way back when a pandemic started,
Mm,
and at the very beginning of it, I started having some physical symptoms that were new to me. I would feel pressure in my chest. I would just feel panicked, like just randomly. And it just progressively got worse and worse. I was not sleeping well, so I would wake up and feel sleepy, but I would also feel like sore because
mm,
it felt like I was literally tensing. My entire body was tensing while I was sleeping. My hands would hurt and things like that. And, new to me, I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out. But then, I started kind of having panic attacks to the point where I was like, I might, there might be something wrong with me. I might need to go to the hospital.
wow.
But then, you know, I'm still doing everyday life like normal. I noticed that when I would talk to my kids or do something with my kids, or when I would talk to my friends, that feeling would go away. So I'm like,
Mm,
okay, I think this is anxiety. And it just got to the point where I'm like, something is wrong. Like, I cannot function like this anymore. And so I went to the doctor and I got on some meds, but I also was like, I didn't know the source of it.
mhm.
So I'm like, I can take this medicine, but I don't want to be on it forever, and I need to figure out like what is the source of this. And so that's what prompted me to go to therapy.
All right, so you're in that position where you're on the meds, you're trying to figure out what the source is. So now you're there in therapy, which is first of all half the battle right there in itself. How did the situation in the relationship between you and your therapist evolve? Like, because obviously you're talking to a stranger, right? And
Yeah.
essentially you're trying to open up and share your innermost thoughts, stuff that, as you just kind of pointed out, some people are not ready to actually receive that, and so you're a little nervous and apprehensive. How did that rapport building go with you and your therapist?
So it's kind of interesting because I started off doing the EAP, like employee assistance,
Hmm.
and they gave us 3 free sessions, and you call them and they like find someone who's near you. The lady said, I'm going to find somebody who's actually near you so that if you want to continue this, you can, or someone who's on your insurance as well. So if you want to continue this, you can, and it won't be like I have to switch after this to somebody who actually does take my insurance.
Right.
Um, so the person they found, because I live in I would say predominantly white area of town, and
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I was a little concerned about that. Like, are these people gonna get me? And then this is like the height of all the political and racial tension. So
yeah.
I'm like, okay, we'll try it and see how this works. They gave me a white lady, and I was
Hmm.
like, I don't know how this gonna go, but we gonna see. But it turned out like I would say I'm not a very open person. I'm not typically a talker. So she was able to get me talking about some things. She just kind of started out asking me about myself and, how I grew up and things like that. And then she started making some, I don't know what you would call it, I guess observations, even though
Hmm.
she's not looking at me, but from what I was saying. And I was like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
she helped me uncover some things that I didn't know was there about where I grew up. And because I grew up in Dalton, Georgia, I don't know if you know where that is,
Yeah, yeah.
but we'll just say that Marjorie Taylor Greene represents that area.
Yeah. That says it all.
Yes, that says it all. But I didn't realize that I had some residual stuff going on that affected how I operate as an adult from growing up in that area. And she helped me uncover the fact that I was constantly trying to prove that I deserved a spot at the table.
Right.
And that was her revelation. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess she gets it, you
Mm.
know? And that kind of helped with the relationship there because she was able to help me uncover a lot of stuff about myself that I did not realize. And it all stemmed from, growing up the way I grew up.
That's really interesting for a couple different things because one, I've had experience going to therapists that didn't maybe share the same race as me. And before, I guess I thought, it didn't matter. They got the same medical training as everybody else. That shit don't matter. Whatever. And then when I started going and trying to, relate and talk about my experiences and what was going on, and they just,
Can't
from the experience
relate.
that I had, they didn't get it, and I had a couple of them, and from the experience I had, they just wanted to just throw medicine at me, and that was it. They just couldn't understand, and that initial stage, and this is what people don't want to talk about or don't want to experience in therapy, but it's bound to happen. If you are true to yourself that first session, you more than likely, I feel like it's a 90% chance, and I don't have real numbers. I'm just making this shit up, but I feel like it's a 90% chance you're going to cry. You know what I mean? Like the
Oh,
crying is happening.
every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
and so people who you don't want to necessarily be vulnerable, you go into that first session, you crying to the stranger that you don't know. You like, I'm out. I can't deal with this shit. But you're crying, and then I'm crying to this woman who doesn't relate to my struggle, and then it was like I was like 4 sessions in. First of all, shout out to EAP because that's what got me in
Yes.
therapy too. EAP, check y'all if y'all working. More than likely, y'all probably have some kind of EAP program. You need to check it out. Get these sessions for free. I'm just saying, it ain't gonna hurt. It's free. But I was there, and I think I might have been at session 3 or maybe session 5 or something like that. And I'm just like, I keep crying every time and I don't feel no better. I dropped off of therapy for a while, and then it wasn't until, for me, my experience, until I found somebody. I just, like, for example, it's easier for me to speak to Black women.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a house with my mom and my grandma. So for me, most of my friends, they're Black women. You know, do I have some Black guys and some other guys sprinkled in there somewhere? Yeah, but we ain't as tight as I am with Black women. That's just really what it is. And so for me, it was, I knew it was important for me to have a Black woman as a therapist, because there was times in my life that I would be like a little, I wouldn't say I was trying to be somebody different, but I didn't let the full Jarratt out because I felt I had to be manly man. Let me do this. I mean, let me not emote. And it wasn't until I started consistently seeing, Black women as therapists, that's when I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna be me no matter what.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you get the right therapist, you go in, you might have walls, but they come down. Like,
Yeah.
once I uncovered those things about myself, I felt better. So, but once you start really opening up and talking, like, the tears are coming for sure, because it's just like, it's so deep, like pulling something so deep from within you, things that you don't even know are there sometimes, and it all just comes out in emotion. But I think it makes sense that as a Black male that you would want to talk to a Black woman. I think it probably reminds you guys of your mom, right? That would make sense to me.
Yeah. Like for me and my mom always had, shout out mom, I know you listen. My mom boy, that woman be supporting me, boy. She be bumping this in the car loudly, driving down the highway, talking about I got another listener for your podcast. Anyway, what's up, mama?
Yes, mama.
But for me and my mom, we've always had this very close relationship. You know, our motto growing up, like after her and my dad split, was it's this little magnet that she kept on the refrigerator, and it had like a little crocodile with a cowboy hat on there, and it just said, "It's me and you against the world. When do we attack?" And that became like our I know, like it became like our motto. And so I would talk to her about stuff that was happening at school, whether it was some women that held me down, was trying to grab my genitals for some reason in 5th grade. I don't know. It's a crazy story. I don't know. But I told her about that. She would tell me about her struggles financially and emotionally. And so maybe I kind of grew up a little fast knowing this stuff, because I'm 12 and my anxiety is up. My shoulders sit up tight like this around my neck. But at least I knew that I could always talk to her. And I think that's what established the type of relationship that I have with Black women now. I mean, Shannon, most people, they just feel like I'm some kind of womanizer. That's why I have all these women on my podcast and everything. Oh, Jarratt, a player, he'll never have no men on there. I mean, they do.
Oh no, you just know what it is.
I know what it is.
You know the wisdom. You know the wisdom that comes with a Black woman.
Girl, you better talk that talk. You better talk that talk. It is my demographic. Hey, it is what it is. The stats don't lie. These are my numbers. It's Black women, and I love it. All right, so I'm so glad that she was able to help you uncover something like that, especially where you're always fighting that you have a seat at the table. Because I definitely can relate to that. Explain to me, how long did it feel like it took you? Because I think in this world, everybody has this sense of instant gratification. So how long was it a process to get that open and start talking, or did it just kind of fit naturally when you went to therapy?
Most definitely, it was a process. I think some people who've never been to therapy, I think they have this misconception that you're going to go sit down, talk to somebody, and then they're going to give you the answers. But it does not work like that. They just ask you questions, And then you have to be like, yeah, I do feel that way. Or, yeah, that does make sense for me and my life and my situation. And like my therapist would be like, well, you've got a lot to think about. Right.
Right.
So then I have to go home and I have to live with that and I have to process that. And so it's not an instant thing. And part of my issue, you know, is that I don't even know how to exist without walls
Mm.
because I have put them up. And she said, that seems like it served a purpose for you when you were growing up because, you put up these walls, you only let people see a certain part of you, and you're protecting yourself from these people that you don't know if you can trust, right? You don't know how they would judge you. But now that I'm married, I cannot live with walls
Right.
and I have to figure out how to break them all down cuz I've been living in a castle with a moat and several shooters on the roof and all kind of stuff. So
Dragons.
I'm peeping through. Yep, dragons. I'm peeping through the little peephole, and that's all you get. So we had to break down some of those walls before I could even get to a certain point in therapy.
That's a testimony in itself because I tell people all the time, they know I got a podcast. They know that I talk about mental health and I'm a mental health advocate. They know that I have my issues with mental health. They know that I talk about mental health whether I'm writing a blog or doing a podcast. They know that I'll be on this mic in front of this camera crying on a podcast and then put it out. And they, oh, you're so brave. You just talk about everything. You're just so open. I let y'all in on the stuff that I need to let y'all in on. Like that, for me, I am selectively open. And
Yes.
and I can do all that and tell you about the struggle of depression after I have gone through that particular part of it. And I can be as open and honest and crying about it as possible. And you think that I'm so brave. Meanwhile, the current battle that I might be going through, you're none the wiser of. Or if there's a
Right.
financial struggle that's going on, or if I just feel maybe I talk about imposter syndrome, but maybe I hadn't talked about the extent of how much the imposter syndrome was affecting me, to the fact, that I can't sleep at night and I'm obsessed and looking at YouTube videos and people's stats and downloads and everything. And I'm just like, and I'm at 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, I quit. I'm not doing this shit no more. I'm done. And then I wake up at 6. I'm like, well, I need to go ahead and start working on this edit for this next week's episode.
Oh,
But people
I
don't.
feel all of
That's
that.
what I'm saying. That's why we besties. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't know that struggle, but when I'm selectively open, and I'll tell them just enough where they be like, I'm trying to be open like you, Jarratt. So it's hard to break down those walls. Like and even
It
now,
is.
like you're married. I used to be married. I think I still had my walls up. If my ex is like one of my best friends, I know she don't listen, but I know, but she knows she's one of my best friends. She would tell you that I still had walls up. Like I would help her with any problem that she had going on, but no, I'm good. I'll take care of it myself. So
Yeah.
that's one of the important things is breaking down those walls. Now, I like that what you said. She gave you these questions. You went home and you processed them. And you noted that this is not about someone giving you an answer. You showing up for 50 minutes once a week and somebody give you the answers to your life and then you sit there and do it. Of course, you're going to feel a sense of relief because you've unloaded to this person for 50 minutes. And like that first hour or two, you feel great. Like you're like, it's a weight lifted. You feel fantastic. For me, it's like the equivalent of me getting a haircut. After the first 3 to 4 hours after me getting a haircut, that's where I am at my most attractiveness. And then after that, it all falls to shit. But that's
Then you
kind of
sleep on it.
I sleep on it as around. But that's the same thing with therapy. You have that high from unloading for that time frame. And then after that, you still got to do the work. So you went home and actually did the processing. So that's never really talked about. It's always go to therapy. Tell me about what that process looked like to you with you trying to do the work after you had the discovery in therapy.
So, first of all, my entire life pretty much fell apart last year.
Whoa.
And nobody would know that because I go to work, I smile, I do what I need to do. And there's only a handful of people that actually know that my life like fell apart completely in every way possible. But I think process of sorting through all that after you do the therapy can be really ugly because now you have to take the information that you got and you have to figure out how it applies to your current life because believe it or not, a lot of the stuff that you end up talking about in therapy has to do with how you grew up and things that you experienced like in your childhood. So now you have to take that information that you know and you have to figure out, okay, what is this causing me to do in my life right now?
Mhm.
What does this have to do with my current situation? And how can I use this information to fix it? And when you're trying to figure all that out, it can be real ugly, especially having a spouse. You working on yourself, but your spouse knows this different person.
Right. Right.
I think one of the biggest things that I've been working on is that I feel like I have lived my life the way everybody else said that I should live it.
Mm.
I have been living up to everybody else's expectations. And so, like, one of the biggest questions she asked me is, who is Shannon?
Mm.
And I'm like, I have no freaking idea. I don't know. So, trying to figure that out. And then, it's kind of like trial and error. And my husband's looking at me crazy, like, who is this person?
Right.
I don't know. And I don't know what to tell you because I'm trying to figure it out myself. So it's definitely a process. It's definitely sometimes a difficult process. It's not like a smooth process. I can say that.
No. No. I think a lot of people think that that's what it's supposed to be, and whether it's figuring out what therapist you finally get to, whether it's seeing if that therapist and you are the right fit, whether it's once you feel like that person is the right fit for you, and they give you some of these observations and these things, maybe even homework, things that you need to kind of work on and process and work through, and then it takes a certain bravery to be open to experience that and have an experiment on yourself. Do these, self experiments to see what you like, what you don't like, especially when you're a person that doesn't has always catered to others. So I can see this is why we best because I can relate to that absolutely. And just never knowing who you are as a person. And the one thing for me that was always one of the scare, I had two things actually. Two things that was scary for me during therapy. One, when my therapist would ask, "Well, what do you want to do?" I don't know. Who are you? What do you want? Who? I don't know. Don't ask me no question like that. I ain't got the answers to it. Like, and so I would get upset because I don't. I've been doing so much for everybody else. And the second thing that would always get me was when I would go off talking about, blog reads and downloads and this and that and Instagram followers and reach and creating this business and what I want to do with myself. And I go off, I'm not successful. I'm not successful. I'm just not successful.
I do that.
What does success look like to you? Huh?
Oh, I got that question too.
I don't know, but this ain't it. I don't know what it is, but don't ask me. I don't know. And that's an example of those questions that you don't want to actually have to hear, but you have to answer in order to get past that stage that you're in.
Yeah.
I do feel like people will get comfortable in that valley that they're in, that depression, that place of anxiety, wherever you are, because you've been in it for so long. You know what it feels like. You know some of the things that you can do to kind of take the edge off, but you never really ascend and you never really get out of that valley because you don't want to do the work.
And it's not easy. It's
No.
difficult. It's difficult. So I think also it's easy to look at other people and see their flaws, but it is hard to look at yourself and see your flaws.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is. I am really good at the advice. So somebody will ask me a question on something and I'm like, "What you need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this." And they keep coming back and getting more and more advice out of me.
But then you don't take your own advice, do you?
Never.
That's
For
me
what?
too.
For what? Shannon, for what? Why
I
am
can
I
give
taking my
people
own advice?
all kind of wisdom. And then I look at my life like, dang, I don't do that.
Go for your dreams. You should go for your dreams. Jerry, you go for your dreams? Huh? No. I mean, halfway. I turn the mic on and start talking for like an hour. That's it. Dreams. I'm going to fail. No.
Right.
So when you start talking about lessons that you start learning in therapy, what are some of the most important lessons that stick out to you in your mind that you've learned through the process?
That's a good question.
Yes.
I think they're more so lessons about myself that I've learned. I am particularly hard on myself, and I hold myself to a standard that's like way up here. But the average person, like, the standard doesn't need to be up here, right? And I give other people grace, but I don't give myself the same grace. So that's one thing. The other is that I would say, because even my parents would say that I've always been a quiet person. I don't speak unless there's something that needs to be said. I'm still like that. But part of that is a wall, because if I don't say anything, then you have nothing to judge me on.
Right.
So I'm new to this talking thing because I always sit and listen. I have a podcast called You Talk, I'll listen. Right. So that's another thing. I think just figuring out who I am has been a big thing that I'm working on, because I have always lived lived my life in a way that is like, what am I supposed to do?
Right.
That might be a first child thing. I don't know.
Yeah. That is. I think so. I think you're right. So have you found something that in your experiments, even though it made your husband look at you kind of crazy, like, what are you doing? Have you found something that, like, I tried this out. You know what? This is not quote unquote characteristic of Shannon, but I like it. It is now Shannon. It is me now. It's something that I do now that I like, that I had to figure it out. Have you had one of those revelations?
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
We'll say. I got my nose pierced.
I like it, actually. I really like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But I'm 40 years old getting my nose pierced. Or 39. I was 39.
So?
I don't know. I think just speaking my mind is really a thing, because I'm a conflict avoider as well. So I will just keep my mouth closed, let you say what you need to say. It'd be good. Keep it moving. But then it might really bother me, and I'm just dealing with that internally. So I'm really trying to work on communication.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I don't say things just to not say things, even things that are not that important. I just won't say it. So I'm trying to work on not doing that.
Yeah.
Just point blank, period.
I'm a lot like that. I don't I am a conflict avoider too, and I'm more of like I've always been more of seeing myself as the mediator and negotiator for different groups and people, and I'm a peacekeeper. I do whatever is necessary to keep the peace, and that doesn't necessarily mean or it's not necessarily the most effective way of doing things.
You keeping the peace outside of you, but the inside of you is
Exactly.
not peaceful.
Exactly. And I've always felt that, well, as long as everybody else is good, I'll be fine. And it is time to figure out who you are and learn and try different things. And it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter the age. So I like that you got the nose ring at 39 and you rocking it at 40. It looks great. I'm because I had the similar thing like I think I want a tattoo. I think I want a tattoo. And I was like,
Yeah.
I can't be 40 getting a tattoo. What does that look like? And now I'm almost
Yes.
43. I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't be 43 trying to get a tattoo. What does that look like? Whatever. As soon as I figure out what it is, say that I'm getting it. You know what I mean? Like, screw that.
I
That's
like
what I'm saying.
tattoos
Like,
too.
it's time to just, do some stuff. It's really about the one thing that I always come back to. And again, losing my father, a few months ago, put it in perspective. In 2020, put it in perspective too with everything that was happening with COVID. We have a finite amount of time here on Earth. And if we're spending all of this time trying to live for other people and trying to fit into a mold that other people have made for us, we didn't even have the input to design that mold. It just got assigned to us. And then we're trying to live in it. Why? Like, figure out what the mold is for
Yeah.
us and then just do it. And some of it might be a tattoo, and then maybe 3 years later I might look at this tattoo and be like, why in the blue hell did I put this tattoo on my body? And that's another topic for something else. And then I just figure out how to cover it up and keep it pushing. Like, but life is about trying these different things and seeing what you like about it.
Yes, and I think you're probably like me. You're a rule follower?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I've always been known as a rule follower, someone who just, you know, always does what they're supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I think something that we both probably need to learn is that when we are trying these things, we have to give ourselves grace, even if it doesn't work out the way we thought it was going to be. And that's where you and I get caught up.
Mm-hmm. Well, my friend Jawanda, friend of the show, Jawanda, she's been on Unestablished Podcast. We've had a lot of conversations about me giving myself grace. Like we'll be going back and forth counseling each other. You know what I mean? And we had a lot of conversations about giving myself grace. And the first thing I tell her is, I don't know that chick. I ain't never met her. I ain't friends with her. I'm not about to sit there and meet her no time soon. So you can keep her over there. But I do realize that there are certain things, that you gotta just not be so hard on yourself for. And I especially have learned this once I fully made an announcement to people that, yeah, this is what I'm doing in podcasting. I have learned so many lessons in the last few weeks, Shannon, just by putting that out there into the world. And some of it is, wow, people are excited for you, and then some of it is, wow, there are some people that's going to reach out to you and tell you what you should do next, even though they ain't got no experience in none of the stuff that you talking about. and there are some people that's going to be like, are you sure about this? It's a lot of experiences that I've learned just on for myself, and like, okay, we put it out there. It doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be successful by you putting it out there. I wanted to be successful. Like I'm really stressed trying to make this successful. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be like the Rock Nation of podcast labels like within the first 2 or 3 years. I would
Yeah.
like that. That would be fantastic. But it doesn't have to be that way. So
But that's the bar that you set for yourself. So again, like we come back to success. success doesn't have to mean that you are at that level, right?
It doesn't. It doesn't. But I'm a big dreamer.
Yeah,
so,
I totally get it. Totally
so
get it.
and that's the thing about, like we talked about putting these high expectations on yourself and just like, yeah, I should be like the Jay-Z of podcasting within like 3 years. That should work. I don't have any
And even
experience
if
in
you don't
trading.
believe it yourself, it's like, if I'm not there in 3 years, then I'm not successful.
Right. I got to be like, okay, well, it's going to take 3.5 or, maybe a couple more months. So, all right, Shannon, I do want to ask you a little bit about this. And because, as you stated, you are the host of You Talk, I'll Listen podcast. It's a podcast that is essentially centric around mental health and the stories
Hmm.
involved in that. You do host Blacktivities. It's a celebration of all things Black. So I feel like you are extremely qualified to answer this question.
Okay.
Why do Black people not want to go to therapy?
I think there's several reasons. I think one, because just in generations past, it's always been for Black people like you don't talk about business outside of the house,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's one thing. Another thing I think is that there is some hesitance. I don't know what word to use to describe when it comes to medical things in general. Like people don't trust medical things because of historically how they've done us. I think also there's a stigma that like if you need help, then you're quote unquote crazy. I think there's a lot of things going on. I think like toxic masculinity plays into that. Just yeah, a lot of things.
Religion. I know a lot of people don't want to bring that up, but I think the the fact that it's kind of tied into, you don't talk about your business outside of the house, but I think when you speak about religion and giving it all to God, a lot of people say that's what you should do, and that's it. Like you can't give it all to God if you're talking to this therapist or you talking
And
to
that's
this
just
doctor.
not true.
It just doesn't work like that, and
It doesn't. I
I,
love me some Jesus.
I know, and the thing about it is, all the teachings in the Bible, it wasn't just God or Jesus just in the whole book. They sent representatives, whether it was Moses or any other of the prophets, Jeremiah, the apostle. They sent representatives. So
Yeah.
why can't God put a ram in the bush and give you a representative to help you with your issues? Like, uh, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm preaching to the choir, but I just
God uses people.
it
God
does.
uses people.
It does. So Black people in therapy, I don't know. It's I would love for it to not just be a stigma like Black people in swimming. I say that and I can't swim, but I would love.
Hey, I'm there with you. Floating. That's me.
Like, oh, this water getting too deep. This water getting too deep. I'm in 6 feet. I'm gonna go back to 5 feet. I'm gonna go back to 5 feet. I'm only 5'11" and a half, so that's just a little bit too much water for me. Just
But if anybody needs therapy, Black folks need therapy.
right, especially from everything that we've gone through. And
Yes.
it's generational curses that a lot came from slavery. A lot came from the aftermath of slavery that
Mhm.
are not being addressed. That we just kind of float through.
And we continue to pass down generation after generation.
Yeah. How open have you been? I can't remember the ages of your kids, but how open have you been about therapy with your kids? And as far as that, like, have you created an open space for them to where therapy is not problematic, or it's not a solution? It's more like something that it just needed like a checkup, like as far as like even from like a medical doctor is.
I don't think they have any concept of therapy yet. I
Mm-hmm,
think that my oldest, who is 9, I think he understands. He knows mommy has anxiety and sometimes she is not feeling well or she feels stressed and has pressure.
mm-hmm,
And he will try to do certain things when he sees that, mommy's in a mood or whatever. She's feeling kind of stressed. He'll try to do some things to help out. But the other one is 5. So she's just happy.
yeah,
Like you can't meet my little one and not smile. She's just that type of person. But my husband and I both, we talk to them about the fact that they can come talk to us about anything. And we try to leave that open line of communication, like just whatever, if there's something bothering you, like you can talk to us. We're not going to judge you or whatever. And there have been times that I've talked to my son, he had something that was bothering him or weighing heavy on him. And, I just listen
mm-hmm,
and ask him, well, how did that make you feel or whatever? Because I don't want him to fall into the whole toxic masculinity thing.
yeah,
I don't want him to not be able to express his emotions and feel like he just has to be stoic all the time. But I'm constantly fearful that my anxiety will come off on them because
yeah,
sometimes I'm like uptight and just like short with them or whatever for whatever reason that I might have things going on with me. And I try to be conscious of that because I do not want them. I already see some things where my son also does not give himself grace.
mm-hmm.
Like he expressed some things and I'm like, he's totally my child. Like he's anxious about things and so I'm concerned about that.
Yeah, I get that. I'm actually the same way um, with my kids, especially with Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is about to be 15, and so I don't know what age that I finally just kind of opened the can of worms and start talking about depression and anxiety and what daddy deals with in counseling. But I feel like it's been a few years now, but only because she was kind of inquisitive about it. Like I think she might have heard some stuff like in conversations, or maybe she saw something on social media with me or something on from that perspective. And I think she started asking those questions, and then we started coming up, and I gave her like little bare bone stuff, and then as she's gotten older, especially with her having her own emotional issues and everything, like to talk about it. So hey, I can relate to this, and you're right. I want to create that space where you're absolutely comfortable in talking to me, no matter what it is. And I feel like it as much as you can from a teenager, because they're gonna hide some stuff. But as much as you can from a teenager, I feel like we've gotten to that point where she'll talk to me about kids in her class that do drugs, or people that are doing this, and we've had conversations about sex, and she's like
I'm dreading that one.
oh my god, I'm gonna tell you, Shannon, I'm gonna tell you, like I got assigned to talk about the birds and the bees with Brooklyn when she was asking those questions. I got assigned that task. To this day, Shannon, I don't know what the hell I said. Like I blacked out. Like I said something, and I looked at it. I was like, "You get it? Do you understand? You got any questions?" She's like, "No, I get it." And then she walked off. It was the summer when she was here, and to this day, I cannot recall anything that I said. I completely blacked out. So I think I did a good job. I don't know. it's, it's, it ain't gonna be easy. It ain't gonna be. It with with a boy, because I hadn't had had any conversation with Noah. Noah is 11, but Noah is Girls mature faster than the boys. So Noah is just still video games and everything like that. Now, he has some questions, about himself and how he's trying to, who he wants to be in this world. But I don't think he's really started asking those questions yet. At least not to
Mm.
me. And I just kind of want to keep spending time with him and creating that safe space. So if he does feel like it, because I think a lot of times it's rough with boys because they got this whole, it is toxic masculinity, and like you said, and
Yeah.
so they feel like they can't, open up and say this stuff and be the person who they want to be, but what society thinks they should be. And I don't want to. I don't want him to have that at all. I want him to be able to emote to me because I want to be able to do vice versa. I want to emote to him and him to know that daddy ain't got the answers. He be trying. Nobody know what they doing. So nobody.
That's
So
one thing you realize when you get to be an adult and you have your own kids. Like, your mom and dad didn't know what they were doing either.
No. I thought they had the manual locked down and everything, but they had no idea. They were just trying to figure it out. And like, even up until my dad died, like now looking at it, he have a clue. He's just like, yo, I'm a father, and that's what I am. I'm like, I'm a father. I answer the phone when they call. I go to
But I
birthday
will
parties.
definitely, when my kids get old enough, I will definitely encourage them to do therapy if they feel like they need it, because I would rather them figure that stuff out early than, waiting until their late 30s and 40s to
Absolutely.
figure it out like we're doing.
Absolutely. So I encourage that ahead a lot, and so that's the path that we're gonna be on. So I'm gonna continue to talk about it. I feel like if I'm talking about it to the perfect strangers on podcasts, I can talk about it to my kids. All right, Shannon. Before we get out of here, it's about damn time. We all about just trying to uplift people, help people become the best versions of themselves. And I always want my guests to give those little nuggets of information when it comes to just anything that we're talking about. So what is it about damn time for people to start doing, to show up, start going to therapy and actually do the work in therapy?
I think it's about damn time that we break these generational curses for our families and our legacy. I think we just need to be real with ourselves and face the things that we're going through, because I think we don't necessarily think about it. We think about it affecting us, and that's it. But it doesn't just affect us, it affects future generations as well.
Very well said. Very well said. I can't agree more to that statement. It is a struggle to continuously fight generational curses, but I think it's the part where we talked about giving ourselves grace, where
Hmm.
if you look at things, what we're doing even just the mindset that we're in to try to break those generational curses, it's already better than our parents because they were just like, it is what it is. And now at least we are turning the tide. So maybe in one or two generations from us, it's no longer a generational curse. We starting it. So
Hmm.
look at you, man, encouraging me and making me feel all good about being a parent and stuff. Man, that's what I'm talking about. See, that's what besties do. That's what we do. Shannon, before you go, you got to sit there and tell me about everything that you got going on. Like, just let everybody know where they can find you at and where they can find your podcast.
Well, you can find me in several places. You can find me on social media at Blacktivities Pod and on IG. Yeah, we're mainly on IG. We also, both of my podcasts, You Talk, I'll Listen, and Blacktivities Pod, are on any podcasting platform. So you can find me there. We are currently in a season of Blacktivities, season 2. And where else? Blackpanache.com. Black Panache we're working here. I know you got your network up and coming. Black Panache, hopefully, is my network up and coming.
No, it's not. Hopefully, you doing this. You doing this. It's happening.
Right now, I'm the only one on my network, but I just think it's really important that we tell our stories and that we share our perspectives instead of letting other people do it for us because they gonna spin it. So I admire what you're doing, and that's what I'm trying to do for myself is build this thing. I hope that your audience will go and check out Blacktivities Pod because I do think that we got some great content, and I hope that it's informational, like you learn some history that we never learned, but also that you laugh because sometimes we just need that.
I want to personally say, I am a big fan of Blacktivities and what y'all do there. I love podcasts that educate and entertain. It's kind of my shtick. It's what I want to build, my label around as far as people that's giving you education, maybe not in a traditional sense, but opening your minds to think about stuff. But you damn sure are going to be entertained. It's going to be the whole damn show. Hence the name. That's how I did that there. But I think you are on the right track. I love everything that you're doing there, and I'm just gonna say it publicly. Use me as a resource. I mean, I don't know everything, but at least we can sit there and bounce ideas off one another because we Shannon are about to do this. Like me and you, like we about to, this network about to pop for both of us. We about to have stuff going on. We about to do this. Like, I talked about this in a previous episode with the business besties that are on the label, and they were like, we trying to get everybody rich, and get everybody working in their passions and have everybody being successful. Jay-Z had a verse say, everybody around me rich or will be. Baby girl, I promise you this or kill me. And I'm like, yeah, that's so Shannon, you part of the clique. You can't be a bestie and like God, I'll be sitting there trying to blow up and you ain't doing nothing. Like that ain't happening. So we about to do this. We about to do it.
Yeah. We got to.
Yeah.
We got to. And I appreciate your support. I know that you are an avid listener, and I really appreciate that.
Of course. Look, you are welcome back anytime. Just let me know when you want to come back. It is booked. Simple as that. So thank you so much for being the guest this week.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for joining me this week on It's About Damn Time. Hey, if you like what you heard, follow this podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and IG, and join the conversation on this week's episode. Link to all my socials in the show notes. You can also show love by simply giving me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And of course, for more blogs, pods, and other digital content, go to thewholedamnshow.com. Until next time, I'll see you next week.